Welcome back, great mathematicians, to our series on matrices. Last time we defined a matrix and we said that a matrix is a collection of information, numbers, those are numbers, stored in rows and columns. You can store the information in form of rows and columns, which is going to give you a rectangular representation of that information, and what you will get with the large brackets, you will form a matrix. And we said that whenever you find something represented like this, then you have to know mathematically that one means it is a matrix. For today, we are going to look at the terms that we use when you are dealing with the matrices, terms used in matrices. So our first term that we are going to define is entry. An entry, you can call it an element. So if you find when it is written that way, then it is an element. You just know that it is either an entry or an element. So an entry, a number with a matrix component. Okay, a number with a matrix component is called within a matrix component, it is called an entry, meaning that if this is my matrix, okay, any number I choose to go with, that one becomes an element of that matrix. If I choose a 1 is an element of this matrix, meaning that any number that is within a matrix is called an entry or an element, meaning that the information that we shall be representing here, we shall be calling it an element. So meaning that a matrix can also be defined as the collection of elements. These elements are numbers. So an element is any number that is within the matrix. So that is one term that we have to put into consideration. I can have an example. If I have a matrix like 2, 3, 4, 5, remember we said it has to have some brackets. So if I decide to choose a 2, it is an element. If I decide to choose a 3, it is an element, meaning that the elements of this matrix are 2, 3, 4, and a 5. So these are elements of the matrix I have above. Let's define another term. That is the second term that we need to know before we deal with the matrix. We look at rows and columns. Rows and columns. If we are to look at rows and columns, remember I was telling you about how the information is stored in form of rows and columns, but what does a column and a row really mean? Now, if we are to look at rows to start with, rows, these are numbers, or these are entries in a matrix that go across the page. They move across the page horizontally. If you see numbers moving across the page, then those numbers are called rows, so long as it is in a matrix form. It is represented as a matrix. E.g., if I have the above matrix, a 2, 3, 4, 5, these numbers moving that side, 2, 3, 4, 5. So meaning that 2, 3, and 4, 5 are the rows of that matrix. So the numbers moving across the page, they move across the page, all from the right, from the left to the right. Okay, left to right, left to right. So those entries, those elements are called rows. Hope that is clear for all of us. Then let us look at columns. If I'm to look at columns, the columns are entries, or they are elements which move downwards the page. They move from the top to the bottom. They move vertically, okay, from the top to the bottom. So those elements, those entries are what we are calling the rows. Remember, our information is being stored in form of rows and columns, but now our major emphasis here is what is a column. Okay, what is a row? So the columns are entries of a matrix which move downwards the page, or from the top to the bottom, vertically from the top to the bottom. Let us have our matrix back. If I have the matrix, we had 2, 3, 4, 5. If I have this matrix here, the entries which move from the top to the bottom, I'm having 2, 4, 3, 5. So these are the columns of the above matrix. Hope that one is clear for all of us. Another term that we need to also define when we are dealing with the matrices is the order of a matrix. Order of a matrix. Order of a matrix. We shall start from there. We shall first start with defining the order of a matrix. Thank you very much.